as we continue our day, and basically we are moving to the outbound block of the conference, we come to a highly anticipated panel discussion. Is personalization really the way to close more deals? This session will examine if focusing on personalization in sales strategies can lead to better deal closure rates or is overrated. So let's introduce our panelists. Ian Naylor, co-founder of High Price. Jordan
Hello.
Crawford.
Sorry.
Jordan Crawford, founder of Blueprint.
Oh, hello. Are we talking?
Right, we were just setting up, right? Michel Lieben, CEO at ColdIQ, and David Dulany, founder and is CEO at Tenbound. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Okay.
We're so happy to have you here. A note to the people in chat: please ask your questions. We will address them later on. And now let's kick things off with some of our questions. So, first question: can you share a time when personalization didn't work as you expected? Would you like to start, Ian?
Yeah, absolutely. I think personalization, especially when, in the context we're talking about B2B growth, is best done when we can scale it. So of course, as soon as whenever you try to scale something as specific as personalization, you can get into problems. And I think I've seen it many times where people try to fake the personalization at scale. So they'll say, hey, I've checked out your website, or I've looked at this, or we did this together. And it's kind of assumed personalization, so kind of faked rather than genuine. And I think that can, when it works, it's great. But when it fails, it's just so obvious and it just feels a little bit wrong. So I think anytime when you try to do too much in that first touch point with personalization, I think having some personalization to, grab their attention, trigger a pattern interrupt is fantastic, of course. But if you try to do too much in that first one, I think, you can potentially fall down some pitfalls.
Got it. Thank you. Jordan would like to join.
Oh, yeah. I just fundamentally disagree with the whole premise of this idea of personalization, because it puts us down a path about trying to get attention. Now, you could talk about my fancy jacket, but that has nothing to do with my desire to buy anything. And so I think instead, the AI models are absolutely spectacular at providing relevant information. If you can give them context on a problem that your buyer has, you can constrain how they respond to that problem, which is the kind of prompt here. And then you can ask them to be ultra creative. And so I ran a campaign recently where we took a screenshot of a Facebook ad. We had GPT-4 describe the Facebook ad, and then we pumped that into Claude to give me ideas about why that ad specifically sucked. And I could do that at scale. And that is a stepwise change than talking about personalization. I think kind of the value in personalization is really about having high deliverability rates with enough differentiation in the message so that you can do this stuff at scale. But saying, Jordan, I saw your LinkedIn post, and isn't it great that X, Y, or Z, and then dumping into whatever your product does is not the way forward here. Mic drop.
Oh, well,
No one's gonna
I was going to say we need a buzzer for whoever's going to answer the question first.
Yeah.
It's like Jeopardy.
So I think I want to jump onto this one because I guess
sure.
the question was about a time when personalization didn't go as expected. And so it's funny that Jordan is mentioning LinkedIn post, because I did run a campaign personalizing based on LinkedIn post. And so, the issue with LinkedIn post is that people post about just anything. And so, like, our whole idea was we were just going to personalize based on what was the content. This would be the way we would grab attention. And then I think, like, the topic, when someone was talking about the war, some war, and like, the way this personalization works is something like, hey, I saw your post, and then just describe with AI what the post is about, and then we were like, well done, but then like someone is posting someone's sad about the war, and so yeah, and so and so this was not the best campaign we've made, and so I would tend to agree with Jordan. I think like it's very useful to leverage AI for qualification research, and then try to do something relevant. That said, like I would say, like the underrated effect of personalization is if you will be doing some scale or some enough scale, then this has the impact of randomizing your template. And so if you have a message that works and you are sending the same message 1,000 times, at some point Google and Outlook are not happy. But with this small snippet of personalization, you can keep with it for longer.
It's a deliverability variable here at that point, which makes a lot of sense, right? And I think that is a good use of personalization. We did the same thing. We did an AI fact about their location. Like, hey, did you know that the USS Michigan was the first sub out of Norfolk, Virginia? Which was wrong. Which when it was wrong, actually, it was better reply rates because people were like, actually,
Yeah.
it wasn't. It wasn't the USS Virginia. It was the USS Commonwealth. And I'm like, got you, But I'll tell you that if you're thinking about scale and really sending a lot of high volume, that's when I don't think about this as personalization. I think of this as driving the most amount of variables in the email, which is like, here's the nearest blah, blah, blah. Here is the blah, just like taking information so that every email that's sent out has enough unique text here that I don't have to go rebuild the inboxes to maintain high deliverability.
I mean, isn't that personalization though? I mean, using variable data and using it to grab their attention.
Yeah, this is a good point. I think that the way that people talk about personalization is that they talk about it in lieu of targeting, which is let me go after all VPs of marketing, and then like if I can just say something cool and then jump into it's show up and throw up is what usually personalization looks like. So which is like say something unique about Jordan and then write 4 paragraphs about what your product does or your service does. And I just don't think focusing on personalization, I think focusing on targeting is a much more interesting thing.
No, absolutely. I think everything that I said before was caveated with you were targeting the right people in the first place, right? I think 101 is targeting. You've got to have the right audience and have the right pitch for that audience. But then I think still best practices that you personalize on top of that, within that specific identified target. I think that's.
I'm curious to get out of this. Sorry, I don't mean to monopolize the conversation, but the way that I think about targeting, though, is the targeting is the message. If you're just targeting VPs of marketing or whatever, the more columns of unique information you have, and let me give you a perfect example. One of the customers that I was chatting with said, my best customer are CTOs that have just been let go, engineering teams that have just been, or a new CTO that's joined, engineering teams that have just been let go, and they're hiring for a lead engineer. That means that they're going to outsource. And so the message in that case is actually just the targeting. Jordan, these 4 things are happening in your business. And generally when those things happen, people do X, Y, or Z. Are you doing X, Y, or Z? And that's not about personalization per se. That's taking the insight, bringing it to the targeting, and taking the targeting to the message.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. But one thing I would say about this is, usually you want to build a hypothesis as to why someone would reply. And so this is where you've got those variables that you bring in, the fact that someone just got laid off, or like they started recently, and then you layer a lot of these. Like it does happen pretty frequently that you can be wrong on that. So to me, it's like the targeting becomes the message, but also you want to make sure that you validate your hypothesis. And so for me, it's always a matter of the client tells me if they just started at their role and maybe like the team has, I don't know, 5 or 6 marketers, then like it's a very good sign for me. But then for me, the question is, let's prove them right, or like let's show them that they're wrong. And so you want to make sure that you have a messages for both of these instances.
Yeah.
David, personalization, definitely a really hot topic. David, do you want to add something here?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's starting with deliverability. I think even before you think about personalization, it's have you figured out your deliverability strategy, and making sure that the message can reach the audience in the first place. I think people tend to skip over that. And then, we don't really care about if I'm from UC Santa Cruz, or if I've lived in San Francisco for 20 years or things like that. It's more of the business problems that the prospect is trying to solve, and knowing that. And so just to reiterate Jordan's point, is really understanding the targeting and the business problems that you solve and weaving that into the message, versus what I see a lot is I see that you went to UC Santa Cruz, or these random facts that I think that people pick up pretty quickly that are generated through AI or something like that.
Yeah, but I think that with personalization, it used to work though, because back in the days when we didn't have AI that could just go on each website and give us a random bunch of information, then what you wanted to prove to people is that you had done some research, and like it was good enough to trick people into thinking that you actually went on their website. And so I remember back in the days, I was doing some outbound and we were targeting e-commerce websites. And so I was pretending that I had been on every website. And the way I was pretending that I had done that is I had an oversee team, and I would ask them to go on the website, some VAs, to note down the name of the product. And I would say, hey guys, I went on your website and I saw like this product. And so anyways, like this playbook is now outdated, because back in the days you needed to put together a team of oversee people and actually have someone go on the website and know the name of a product, which would mean that someone receiving the message would think, oh, like they actually did go on my website, because there's no way they could have found this information. But today it's just way too easy. So it's like, because it's way too easy, you need to go one step further. And unfortunately, it doesn't work work
well
anymore.
it's so funny. I was one of the things that I had explored was taking the website and inventing a personal story about how I use the product. And it was like, I couldn't send it. It's like, hey, my wife bought some diapers from this place and we love and it just went it told a whole story. So now I'm going to have, so for sure that would get replies, right? But now I'm going to have to get a call. It's like, hey, how's your wife doing? It's like, oh yeah, no, I don't know wife. Yeah. It's like, I don't have any diapers, And so you could just take this to the 100th degree. But to David's point is that I definitely have found non-personalized templates that work. And what happens is they get flagged on the inboxes. And so there is totally a path where I could send non-personalized great emails that are working. And I just have to spin up new infrastructure. And so you personalize, I think, to mitigate the idea of having the sort of painful process of having to create new infrastructure. So so there is totally a world to an argument to be made, which is don't innovate anymore on copy. Deliverability is where you can get a 10x improvement, because you're hitting the inbox. And so if you don't have that, you have nothing.
Yeah. And Jordan, in that case, that funny story about the diapers, are you optimizing for a response? Are you essentially, you're trying to get some kind of response, because it's almost impossible to get a response. So
yeah.
Is that okay?
Well, I mean, what we're doing now to do this is basically we're inserting so many AI generated variables that there's enough difference in the email in the hopes that the spam traps won't catch us. And so in some cases, we're saying yo, AI, go search the web and give me, we may not use this exact variable because it's a little controversial, but give me the nearest police station. Go give me, we're looking at schools and we're looking at search around the school and give me the nearest schools. So I can say, tell me other people in the district. And so go find the principal names of those other schools and personalize with other people. Have you talked to these people in the IT department? So that if you look at any given message, it is different enough that you can maintain high deliverability, and that the personalization is not necessarily to drive up response rates. It's just to save the email infrastructure for longer.
Which drive us to the second question. How do you balance the scale of your outreach with the needs of personalization?
Yeah, I think we hit the nail on the head with that before. It really comes down to targeting. If you do your targeting correctly, your pool of people you need to contact should be significantly less. And so the need to send out to tens of thousands of people is massively reduced. And as we've talked about already, the hot topic of deliverability becomes a much easier topic when we're not trying to scale to crazy numbers. And that the key to all of that is whether we call it personalization or targeting, or the personalization of your targeting, to the point where it's you're dealing with a specific pain point to a specific target audience, and therefore your message is targeted to that. And like as Jordan said, having some variable snippets in there, the more variables, so your message doesn't appear to be templated. That's really the key, I think.
I think about this in two paths. The first path is really reversing from actual buying behavior and what is the best possible thing you could send at low scale and then scaling that. And so this is like I had a customer that had a really interesting idea. They're like, I will ask support a question on email, I will call, and then I will chat. And if I get 3 different answers, I take those 3 answers back to the chief customer officer and say, hey, your agents are answering questions differently. Do you think you should unify your knowledge? Right. And that's an amazing play because it's actually about a business problem. I'm showing that I understand their business problem. Now, doing it at scale is a different question. But if the thing works, you can invent a process to scale it. Now, what most people are doing is the other thing, which is basically treating cold emails like ads. And so, which is fine to do, but in that world, you actually need a gigantic audience, and all you're doing is fishing. And you're saying, generally, people like you have these sorts of problems. The personalization is, a kind of little extra bonus. And then all you're doing is trying to get in the inbox as much as possible. And that's just an ad. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are 2 separate go-to-market ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also think that back in the days, scaling and personalization were something that wouldn't work together. So really, it would mean that you had to do this manual research over and over and over. But then it's like if you do as Jordan says and you imitate kind of this manual research, but you have AI do it, then you don't actually spend that much more time doing it. Which means that you can have scale and personalization, especially if you use some of these tools that let you browse websites and browse some, I don't know, other pieces of information about companies. And so to me, it's never going to be a matter of like balancing both because I feel like I can have both. My main issue is how big the market is because this is what's going to prevent me from sending at a bigger scale.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, there's a stat going around that I don't know where it comes from, but it basically people are saying that if you look at the 100% of the total addressable market, there's only 5% that are actively, in a situation where they might respond or they have a business issue that they might be interested in talking to you about. And is that a real statistic, or is that just somebody made it up and
I'm sure it's made
feel
up.
like I'm going to post it online and start talking about it?
Well, I mean, I don't know. The way I think about this is like, sure, there are people in market, and if you can catch them, amazing, right? Like there are people that are actively in a buying cycle, but it's not like I think people wake up every day with the same problems that they had yesterday, usually. And so it's really about having a unique insight on their problem and saying, look, you've been sold A, B, C, or D today. And so I have seen cases, I mean, I don't know, most of the startups that are growing at a breakneck speed are not doing so because they are able to find that 5%. It's because they're able to convince the 95% that the way in which they're solving the problem today is actually not an efficient way. And they have some unique, clever insight about why that is 10 times less efficient than what they're doing. And the problem is that most people, when they think about outbound, don't do that at all. All they do is throw up their speeds and feeds. And you're selling most people in the B2B SaaS world are selling to other B2B SaaS folks. And so that bar is like way, way, way higher because they have been pitched everything under the sun. And so I don't think that you're necessarily in the B2B SaaS world. Yeah, maybe you're trying to find those 5%. But if you start thinking about other verticals, what you're trying to do is to convince them that the way in which they're doing business today is not the most efficient way.
But I think it's made up because I heard 3%. So every time I hear the statistic, it's what.
Love it. Love it. How do you think personalization in sales will change in the next 5 years? David, do you want to start?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think that we used to spend a lot of time doing manual grunt work and research, and really smart people would outsource a lot of that out to lower cost markets. And now, and especially, I mean, it's really amazing if people on this call are not following the other panelists. These guys are like on the bleeding edge of setting this up. You don't have to necessarily either do it all yourself or rely on an outsourced team because of the tools that are being developed right now, to be able to help you with your deliverability, to target, to get very, very precise, personalized, quote unquote, information and put it into a message that resonates with the audience. And it's just going to be more and more rapid and targeted as we move forward over the next few years.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that when you look at personalization, the way it used to be, was those attention grabbing hooks, and it's like as senders just realized that the way they were selling before works and is way less efficient than it used to be, then they have to find greater insights as to how to properly personalize. And so, to me, it's pretty clear that every personalization or any personalization that's not relevant or that doesn't add anything to the pitch will soon become outdated, just because of the fact that you have more and more people waking up to the fact that you can use some very great tool for research, and that if you manage to have a good point of view on the research you made, then this increases the result a lot, because you will have been targeting people on the right people. And so I think that now we are talking about personalization. Then in the future we'll be talking about finding the right person. And then this is repeating Jordan's point. It's really a matter of if I'm able to put my offer in front of the right person, then whatever I'm saying, it will work. And so me just describing how I found them becomes my pitch, because I'm just saying, hey, my excuse for reaching out to you is because I saw X, Y, and this other thing. And usually people who suffer or who are going through this situation have this other thing. Is it true for you? And so, yeah, and so to me, it's like now what we try to do is we don't try to hard pitch features. We just try to find out if our assumptions was true, because if our assumption was true, then they will be interested in talking with us. And so this is, I think, where personalization is going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think actually it will be more of the sort of AI bots that you will be able to teach. A founder will be able to teach an AI bot what they're doing and say, go follow me. Follow me as I go around the web, as I research, as I'm doing my founder-led sales. And instead of hiring these sales teams to sort of go cold call, you'll be able to teach a model. Now, just last thing I'll say is like we have switched over from GPT-4 to Claude Haiku for most of our personalization, which is the cheapest model. It's about 10 times cheaper than GPT 3.5. And I can give it a template and it will reliably reproduce that template at fractions of a penny. And so I think that the future will be taking more of the unstructured web and structuring it and delivering that one by one to people.
What did you say?
Sorry.
Sorry, I just wanted to hear the name of the model Jordan described. You said Kodaku?
Oh, Haiku. It's the cheapest of the models. So it's Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus. And so it's they can take 200,000 tokens. So you can just dump in a bunch of information, and the best way to do the personalization here is actually to provide those little squiggly brackets that you always say and have the AI invent things within the creative constraint within context, which is my framework here, and saying, write a 2 to 3 summary, write a 4 to 5 sentence or 4 to 5 word summary, and then and it will reliably reproduce an email that you can totally send cold. And because it's so cheap, you can actually run it back through the model and say, is this crazy? What about this email sucks? And then like, is it in this format? And so you can have it check itself, right? Like do your homework and then check your homework, grade your own homework. And it's cheap enough that you can do that and it works. I'm happy to chat offline about the model and stuff and how we're doing.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think obviously what we've been talking about there is the actual content, the words and what we're saying, but I think also the delivery mechanism for that as well. We're talking about emails right now, and of course to deliver that, but rather than it being just a purely textual email, kind of totally creating a total avatar of yourself. There are obviously videos and AI that are doing that already, the deep fakes or whatever, but they're still in that uncanny valley. I think they're still not quite there. I think obviously within 5 years from now, they're going to have moved on leaps and bounds, right? And you can create like a live recorded Loom quality video with all this content we're talking about, but delivered in a more humanized way. And I think that's kind of where you're going to see a big shift within, obviously it's nowhere near there yet, but I think within 5 years, which obviously was the question there, I think that's where we're going to see a big shift as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too, but I think it's not going to be net valuable, because all these people that are creating these this is the problem that people think it's like humanization. If I can just humanize it more, it's like that has nothing to do with your market insight or the company's problem. And so you'll see these companies that are creating these deep fakes, et cetera, for Loom. Like the problem is not, if only I had a Loom to watch, I would buy your product, right? Like no one wants to watch a 1 or 2 minute.
It's still obviously targeting everything else is important, but it's the delivery of that message. And I think humans do respond better to another human than just words on it in an email.
I don't know. Like I look at an email for like half a second and I'm like, if this is relevant to me, I delete it. Like it doesn't actually matter so I don't wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm running through my life. And so that meant the quality of that message has to be excellent. And I think that the single problem is people aren't anchoring on buyer behaviors. They're trying to get attention from their buyers and buying tools about attention. Personalize. If I can only personalize a little bit more, attention isn't our big problem in B2B. It's actually taking the insight that the founder has about the problem or your best AE and figuring out how to take that insight to market. And that there's a huge disconnect between what teams are doing today, and super junior people and automation are speaking to super senior buyers. And it's that delta that we need to close.
And I'm just wondering, can you train an AI to do webinars like this? Because I think he would probably do a better job than me. So
me too. Yeah, I know exactly. That's the day here when they can just like take your online content and then you can show up to webinar. That's a different level. Yeah.
I could jump in here because guys, it's like AI avatars. Have you seen what magic they can do?
Yes,
well,
it's
you
scary.
can check I mean, like you can check TikTok accounts of Reply Your Founder, Oleg Bilazor, and you can see that some of his videos like actually made he's using an AI avatar of himself. These videos go viral. I mean, and if you consider just let's recollect March, I would think it was February 2023 when ChatGPT was released. Just compare that release with the current state of AI technology and all those models, and actually what technology can do and how it is implemented, like this native technology in the second wave products. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, like, I don't even agree that it will take us 5 years. I mean, this year we'll see another leap forward in AI technology.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that they go viral because it's sugar. People are really interested in this. They're like, they get high off it. They're like, this is the bleeding edge, but that is not sustainable. So of course you can capture attention anytime you're at the bleeding edge. But the question is, what happens after the bleeding edge and people start to realize the avatars? You're left in the same situation you are today, which is like, who are you targeting? Why are you targeting them? And what unique insight do you have about their market? Independent of how that message is delivered, the quality of that message matters. And that's the biggest opportunity, I think, today, or even when generative AI can do a much better job.
Yeah. After the sugar high wears off, you have to go back to your desk and you've got a bunch of tasks and, all those pain in the ass things that you have to do. And that's the same with your clients, right? They're still trying to grapple with the business issues. And
there'll be an AI for that too.
Well, wish our AI avatars could do some work for us, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Let's get to another question. What old school sales techniques would you bring back if personalization, or targeting, were suddenly banned, and why?
Cold calling all day long. Just like parallel dialer
with AI, right? AI avatar doing cold calling.
No. Hello, thank you for you called movie phone. It's like press 1. No, forget it.
Press 1 to buy my product.
Yeah. Just tell me the movie that you want to watch. Yeah.
Click here.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's your promo code, right?
Yeah, cold calling. I mean, it's the fastest way to get feedback on your market, and especially if you're having a parallel dialer, right? Like, that's something, or also in person. I mean, we're seeing great results with in-person events. So just
I was gonna say networking events is kind of, it's immediate feedback. I think sometimes with cold calling it can be a little bit intrusive. No one's given permission for that call. You might not catch them at the right time. In-person events, obviously people are there. And again, you might get a confirmation bias because they're there to be sold to, or at least there to information gather. But I like the kind of, it's kind of less intrusive, and you can hit a lot of people, get a good success rate of hits, whereas cold calling, you could maybe do 10, 20 calls before you get a good one. But yeah, I think they're both, like Jordan said, great ways of getting immediate feedback. And in any sort of startup or any kind of sales cycle, that feedback's kind of key to kind of being as effective as possible.
And we're sending awards too. We're sending like literally crystal awards.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That have like the best customer support. And so this is like, I don't know, $300 to $500 a piece, but these deal sizes are $70,000, $80,000, $100,000. And so like, am I going to spend, a 3D heart in here is printed in the center, right? Like, of course I'm going to spend that amount of money, because it will break through the noise, right? Like it's a different thing that people don't really get something on their desk that they can play with that's like impressive. So direct mail too. That's
really taking the sending out the logoed pen out to another level.
Yeah. No one needs a new pen, but I mean, no, I don't know. No one needs a crystal award, but it's still like, hey, I gotta spin it.
Exactly. It'd be the envy of the office.
The world's most expensive fidget spinner. Yeah, exactly.
But I think that if you cannot target, though, you would be either like sending mails to people you don't know, or like you would be like calling people and you don't know who would be at the end of the call. So I would say what I would do is I would just get some business cards, and then if I'm trying to sell something, I would just go and put them on expensive cards, just because this is how I would know that people have money. It's like this, because otherwise it's like just calling some random people and like knocking at random door. I mean, like, you can look at the side of the house.
Oh, so that was your business card, huh, in my car? Yeah. That's why I have a loan on the car and you own.
It's all about how it started, right?
Yeah.
Actually, a few dozens years ago.
Well, people they're still people. I mean, the fundamentals, right? It's like people still want to buy from other people, and that's not going to change. AI is not going to change that, right? It's like, I'm going to look across the other edge of the table, and it's like, do I trust you to solve my problem? And that will always be the case. I mean, that's not going to change. And I don't think people will one day wake up and trust an AI to make $100,000 purchase. It's like, I want to see someone on the other end and be like, like, is David going to do me dirty, or is he going to really help me out here? And if I believe, of course, which is the truth, is he going to help me out?
Use me as an example.
You just happen to be there. Yeah.
No, I agree. And we've been stuck inside, during COVID for so long. It is so exhilarating to get out of your house and go and meet people first face to face, and AI can't yet replicate that. And I'm like, wait a minute, I live in San Francisco, there's got to be a lot of people that I can meet with. So I made a goal to go out at least once a week and have coffee and meet and go to events. There's always something going on, and the AI cannot replicate that. It's if you can get out of your house and go meet people.
I'm here in San Francisco, so let's get coffee after I insult you, David.
Yes, everybody, give me a call if you're going to be here. I will buy you coffee. I love coffee. I'm drinking it right now.
See, no personalization needed, and I just closed a free coffee. So
yeah. You got your first meeting today.
Oh, actually, I did use your name, so fuck. Personalization works.
Personalization works.
David, do me dirty, Dulany. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, nagging is the future. I don't know. Yeah.
Talking about windshields.
Yeah, it's like not complimenting. That's the way to go.
It's the neg sales technique. Great.
He's the pickup artist.
You can't buy from me. Yeah, buy. Yeah. Oh, maybe I can.
Oh, please.
I mean, like, this is the most heated heated panel I've ever been holding. Thank you so much. I mean, we have 1 minute left. I'm not sure I have one question left. Let's just try to do this. If AI could perfectly predict every customer's preferences, what would be the role of human salespeople?
I think we've been talking about this the whole way through, because all we're talking about there is Uber targeting, and it still takes the human kind of empathy, human connection to deliver those data points that AI has delivered for you, right? Or so I think it's everything we've already said and kind of almost agreed on.
Agreed on.
Trust.
Meeting,
I mean, Jordan said it best. Yeah. You have to trust the person that they're not going to do you dirty. So my answer for this question is golf. Playing golf. We're just going to play golf all day, and the AIs do it, and we build trust with the clients.
That's the perfect future, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the third question that AI will never ask, right? A customer will say one thing, and they'll say, I like coffee. And it's like, okay, well, what kind of coffee? Like Starbucks? Like, no, not Starbucks. Okay. Well, why am I selling you coffee then? Like, okay, well, what do you like? Well, I like third wave coffee. Okay. Are you into what kind of milk? Well, I like actually soy milk. Soy, who drinks that anymore? And it's that level of type of questioning here to understand really what the buyer wants. And the AI is not going to know those questions to ask because the market's changing. And so the seller is really trying to not only qualify, but disqualify a prospect to make sure that they can be happy. And that's going to be really hard, I think, for AI to do, unless it's training all your gong calls, in which case, fuck it, go play golf.
Pickleball.
Yeah, pickleball. Yeah. I can't play golf. I got no shot. Pickleball, there's like 80-year-olds playing. I got some shot there.
Guys, thank you so much. It was so insightful and funny at the same time. It was heated, but I believe that all of you here were able to prove your point. And I believe that the world is so different that and a lot of approaches can live simultaneously, right? Thank you for this. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.